what UAE is all about or what UAE is doing, let me call upon my panelists for the discussion around AI. So first, let me call upon Nitin Bhargava, who's the CEO at Masraf. Next, I would like to invite Rajesh, Kumar, Bhaskaran from Emirates Embedding. And finally, I would like to invite Rajesh Mirjankar, who's the manager and CEO of Kiya.ai. Before we start with some of the questions I have, I would like to hear from Nitin, Rajesh, and Rajesh your view on AI. Nitin.
I think that's out of syllabus, no?
You never agreed for this, yeah?
No. So my view is that it's a reality, no more wishful thinking. It's getting embedded in all parts of our lives, not just banking. So you look at self-driven cars, you look at any shopping stuff. So it's absolutely being fast-tracked into our lives. So here to stay, we love it, leave it, we have to adopt it.
In my view, AI is in a very still early stage, I would say. You are going to see a lot of breakthrough innovations coming in AI. In the last 2 years, a lot of changes we are seeing in AI. So early stage, prepare for it, well prepared, you will succeed, otherwise you are out of the business. So that's what we all need to think about AI now.
I think, per se, in financial services, if I were to talk in particular, given the audience, AI has been around for decades. There's no denial about that, right? So for those in building systems, they know that the back end to a lot of fraud detection, anti-money laundering, etc. It's been there for decades now. And it's been in different names. So in the earlier days, it would so happen that if you didn't know what artificial intelligence was, or rather, if you didn't know what a particular algorithm was, like a neural network or a document scanning, you would just call it AI. Now it's taken a different meaning. And I think the reason why it's happened is the emergence of generative AI. And I see that the generative AI is going to bring about a change very similar to what smartphones brought about in e-commerce. And that's how the adoption from what was typically back-end will take AI adoption to the front end. And that is why we will all think it's imperative and necessary to implement faster.
Right. So in that context, let me start with Nitin. So how is AI driving efficiency and innovation in financial sectors across the region and globally?
Okay. Let's break it into operational efficiency and innovation. I think in terms of operational efficiency, it's doing the right thing, to summarize it. What I mean by that is we want to harness the data and the tools related to AI to provide the right service to our customers, accurate service. When you look at processes, processes have to be, definitely they get more efficient and faster, but also it helps embed, and we talked in a couple of other forums as well, embed the controls and the compliance and the regulations that are related to it. And when I mean embed, it's not like right in the end, but right through the journey. And that AI helps us in that because it can harness structured, unstructured data as well, right? So To us, that's a big thing. You do it lending-wise, you do some sentimental analysis, do straight-through processing, you look at all your controls and compliances around it as well. So it does bring that kind of operations efficiency from both outside and inside perspective. You look at innovation, I think that somebody mentioned about hyper-personalization. I want to keep it summarized. It's all about giving the right service to our customers on the right price. So that's how, again, your pricing can help. The risk management helps in giving the right pricing using AI. And that's a lot of use cases there as well. So you offer the right product to the right people. And that's also what the central bank is trying to drive as well, right? So no improper selling, sell to the capability of the customers as well. So to me, these are the, if you ask me, operational efficiency, innovation, these are the areas you focus on.
So Rajesh, Bhaskaran, so what are the key challenges in integrating AI with the core solutions and the technology landscape of banks in the region?
There are a lot of huge challenges we have if you want to embrace AI technologies in an organization, any bank. So let me, there are too many things we need to do from a technology architecture stack point of view, but let me point out 3 very critical things any organization need to do if they really want to get the right benefit of AI. Now, if you look at in the previously for last 10 years, there are a lot of work has been done to embrace open banking, right? Now we have another generative AI is coming into the picture. So it's putting a lot of pressure on all the organizations to modernize their core back office systems. When you say modernization, there is a lot of ideas keep on throwing, but believe me, we can have a lot of ideas, but there are only few implementable ideas. So I am always a firm believer that don't do anything for the sake of a technology, but always try to do that so that you solve a problem for your business. Now when you say modernizing the technology means you want a scalable, configurable, agile-based back office systems, right? Now, it's very easy to say and done, right? But it needs a lot of effort, a lot of planning. So that's what we all need to do, so that last 2-3 years, many banks are adopting it. It's a journey, and you can't do it in one day, I'll just replace my core bank. It doesn't work that way. So we need to look at all these back office systems, try to work with your partners or whichever back office systems you have internally built it, and try to see that whether we can go to a more flexible architecture. I think microservice-based architecture is the buzzword now, but you need to take that journey. There are a lot of debates happening. Why should we do that? All has to be put on the back burner. AI is a reality. If you really want to use the AI, you need to start that journey as quickly as possible. That is point number 1. Point number 2, scalability. No other option other than cloud or cloud ready or cloud native back office applications. The reason I am saying that cloud ready or cloud native because you can either go to a public cloud or a private cloud, or you can even create your own data center using the cloud technologies. It's up to the banks or each organization scale and the might they have on that. But you need to be cloud native or cloud ready because that's the only way you can do scalability. Just to give an example to you, when UPI was introduced in India, suddenly we see the banks see a huge volume of API transaction hitting their banks. Nobody anticipated that because UPI, the nature itself is a small ticket transactions and you will get more and more hits. Nobody was prepared for it. Now, many banks are now already started revamping their infrastructure to handle that. Now, believe me, in UAE, it is going to come a reality, right? So we have to start planning now itself and make it, make your core banking or every systems to accept that much type of API hits. That can be only possible if you have a scalable infrastructure, right? The third thing which I would say is API management. Open banking is always asking all the organizations to be API enabled, but with AI coming in, that needs to be more advanced. So the two things, API management and streaming, are going to be the two ways organizations can communicate to the outside world. And if you don't have your back office systems which can emit events or a will, then you are out of the business. The reason these are very important because, see, AI can only benefit you as a bank if you are ready to embrace it and get the maximum benefit out of it. Otherwise, you will get a mediocre benefit and the competition will eat you over that. So these are the three things I would say the organizations need to do that. And it's going to be a long journey, but please start the journey as quickly as possible.
Yes, sir. So coming to you, Rajesh, Mirjankar, you have been traveling worldwide and you have been working with a lot of banks globally who have been into this journey. And there are a lot of innovations that is happening, like what Rajesh was mentioning, a lot of innovations happening on the back-end core side, on the back-end side, core side, on the digital side. You know, what do you think are, what kind of innovations that you think will be able to be implemented in GCC or will be relevant to GCC and implemented, and how it would change the banking landscape in a bigger way?
Yes. So I'll answer this not specific to AI as such, because AI would lend itself into a lot of other changes that will be necessary. I think if we look at some of the core successes globally, UPI, of course, in India has been a global success. It turns to be one of the world's best payment systems, ecosystems as such. Now, a very interesting thing that's happening is the work around digital public infrastructure that a lot of countries implementing. Especially India has been successful at it. But there's also the public-private investments that have happened around infrastructure for open banking, which have helped. And that's a typical example is Europe with the PSD, etc. I think from a perspective of UAE, there are three key strengths that the UAE has got. One is the very strong and open-ended regulations that are available. It's one of the most proactive regulator that's there. Especially in terms of learning and adopting. So I think from a perspective of, and you mentioned this, that UAE is one of the few countries to have a ministry of AI. Given that, I think UAE has a perfect opportunity to create an open DPI with AI. And I'll just put this in perspective on one use case. Jonathan mentioned this about mule accounts, right? That's a situation that most banks face. And with digital banking, mule accounts tend to be the pain because there's nothing you can do to help a customer. He's the victim. The bank is not at fault. Both sides of the bank are not at fault. And the mule also is sometimes not at fault. The fact is greed takes over, and it could be a mule who falls for it, or it could be the customer who falls for it. So what can an open network with AI help? Given that you have an infrastructure with a closed loop system, if I were to call it from a retail perspective, you can have mule accounts being monitored from both ends of the banks, because seeing it from just one end, you're never going to figure out how it's going to happen. So I think UAE can certainly do that as such and lead as an example for the world, because these systems require to be done at population scale. For UAE to do it would be much easier. The second part is with regards to, I think, the need from a problem area. If you look at the opportunity that the UAE has got, it's a perfect location from a geopolitical sense, enabling trade and commerce. Still, you would find that if you were to raise a request for a bank guarantee or a letter of credit, it's the same time that it takes anywhere else that it would take in any country. I think there's an opportunity to work out a mechanism to use infrastructure in such a way that you can implement technology where this can happen faster from Dubai or UAE, which then enables the UAE to become a hub for global trade. And the last part I would say is with regards to the ability to implement technology from a core foundation, is there is a need for moving from open banking to open finance to open economy. And this lends itself into how, let's say, for example, India has done this. Open banking was partly implemented with UPI, but then there came account aggregator that allowed for exchange of KYC information. That comes with its own problems. Like, for example, a typical question that a bank asked is saying, if I picked up a KYC from bank A to open an account here, does that mean that I don't have to do KYC checks because I picked it up from there? Otherwise, what's the use of picking up if I have to do the same level of checks back again? So there are these problems to solve. I think that can be dealt with from a larger perspective of digital identity, etc. But a quick need for UAE to move to open economy will be useful, because when you look at embedded finance and the use of corporates being able to take up a lot of actions, that's something that can be clearly done.
Right. So Nitin, just taking on this, right? So with a lot of these innovations, so what strategic shifts do financial institutions in the GCC need to make to fully harness the potential of these innovations of any fintechs that are coming into the market with whom you're collaborating, and specifically around on AI?
See, we've discussed this, right? It is basically becoming mandatory with the Ministry of AI also being formed and a lot of drive towards adopting AI for the right things. Technology is improving, I think, and there is talent here or outside, you can get the talent as well. In my view, the next frontier is the transformation on the people side. The mindset has to change, right? It's about the trust as well, and I've seen this in my current bank. We have done a lot of transformation, but things slow down when you have to get everyone aligned to do this. I think somebody mentioned about STP and all that. There's a trust issue. I think we didn't mention the previous thing. It's a trust issue. So we can talk about explainable AI to bring that confidence, but it has to work with the people who want to adopt it and champion it. It has to come from the top, but when you start looking at adoption, we need to train the right people. We need to change the mindset. So it's not about technology anymore. It's not about the skill as well. There is, but still you can get that. But mindset, getting the right mindset, win the trust of our customers as well. The customers don't know what's going on in the background, but the people who are supporting the customers, they need to also be willing to adopt this. It's getting there. I give a quick example. In our compliance, we refreshed our compliance platform, AI-based. Our false positive on the screening side is between 2 to 3%, right? But took us at least 6 months to prove it, right? And thankfully, we have the technology to do some sandboxing, to do parallel runs and all that. And that is going to be the right thing. Now we are into the risk and the credit side as well. So we have talked about these use cases. It's all about getting the trust going, converting the minds into adopting these new technologies.
Now, Rajesh, Bhaskaran, now Nitin was mentioning about the trust internally, right? Now there is also this regulator that is there. So, how do you trade off the balance between innovation, especially backed by AI, and with the regulatory requirements? Because this whole digital landscape is evolving, every single day. So how you manage that and how you balance, and you still carry on with the innovation while, taking into account the regulatory requirements?
So why there is a regulation is mainly because still the AI is in an early stage. So there can be a lot of, let me give some examples to you. What are the challenges we are facing in AI now? There are hallucinations happening, right? So we need to overcome that hallucination. So what's happening? Now we are introducing retrievable augmented generation is what we are using now, right? So that they are going to solve that problem, right? So regulator is seeing it, right? It's not that we are not blindly accepting what challenges are there. So that way you will get support from regulator, but regulator is right saying that he wants the right service to go to the customers, right? So that is one point on that. The second one, explainable AI, right? Why when Nitin was saying there's a trust issue? Because if I leave a model to take a decision, tomorrow my customer comes and asks me on what basis you take a decision, I need to explain that. And there are a lot of work is happening on the explainable AI to introduce that algorithms for the banks or organizations to give you the explainability why the model has taken that decision on that. The third thing which I would like to say is that from the foundation models to LLM, SLM is what everybody is now focusing on. The reason is very simple. I can control it better. It is more efficient, and research has shown that LLMs after a point is not efficient on that. So this is another one which is really helping, and the regulator is also seeing all these things on that. Two more things I want to touch upon which personally excites me a lot in the AI area. One is the super intelligent voice assistants. I have seen some use cases which is going to be a reality in the coming years. When I am talking to a chatbot, when I am talking to a customer service agent, I don't want to use to type anything. Everything should be done using my voice. So let me explain a use case to you. I call a bank. I told them that, hey, I want to pay my credit card dues. The voice responds back saying that, we have seen that you have configured 3 credit cards in your system. Which one you want to pay? I say the name of that. Then it says, from which account you want me to make the payment? I respond back. Shall I confirm the payment? Yes. Transaction is done. So what we are moving is that currently if you look at it, everything is a combination of text and a voice. And what the world is moving towards is that it's a complete voice. Because that's a convenience we are trying to give it to the end customer. Before I complete, one more thing which really excites me, which is very relevant, is the autonomous AI agents. It's a very, very new innovative use case in AI. One of the use cases we see in banks is that you have proactive AI agents. So far what you've seen is only reactive, right? I ask a question, you respond back to that, respond back to that. What this autonomous AI agent is going to do is that it is like a proactive agent. It goes and sits in your organization. It looks at alerts. It looks at what to do, and it starts acting on those alerts. So far, we are all used to augmented AI, right? It alerts you, it gives you, and it waits for a human to interact. Obvious reason, because we don't trust that models that much. But once you start trusting more, what is the next step is proactive AI agents. When that comes in, then you will really see that a lot of what humans are doing, it can completely mimic it.
Thank you, Rajesh. Now, so with all this regulations and the regulator being more proactive or supportive, and this trust issue that Nitin was mentioning, what do you think is the most promising AI technology that will shape the future of the GCC, of the banks, and also for the fintechs that are going to be operating in the region?
Yes. So I think given that we enable it a foundation of open finance ecosystem, an SLM model, as Rajesh mentioned, will be something that will be most apt for financial services. Given that in financial services, the sort of, if I were to call it, reserved words for actions to be taken between banks, actions to be taken from customer to banks are all defined, and defined from decades. So there is not much of training required from a perspective of enlightening the staff about what that means. So it's necessary to sort of bring in the whole part of awareness within staff to say how these autonomous agents can work with empowered SLMs that can use these language models to create a product for the customer. I think what is going to emerge is the benefits of AI obviously has to translate into a customer benefit. Because banks benefit, of course, the banks have to figure out, but customers are going to have adoption done by their benefits. We've got to know that, so long people have been thinking about AI being used just by the bank, but it's already being used. What's going to happen in future, I would think, is that AI will be used by the customer. So what you have defined today as a mobile app and somebody is going to click some buttons and you'll take actions on that is going to change from talking to an AI agent that the customer has initiated, of saying what is best for me and then drive a product for that. And the bank will have to then take a quick decision to say what's my role in it. If you look at total banking that's working today, it's a fact that banks have decided we will get into this, then fintechs have come in and said we can do this better, banks have said okay, we'll partner. This is going to change by transaction. It's not going to happen by an association saying we've signed an MOU, we'll part a particular deal across. It's going to happen in open economy in such a way that the AI agent will say this is the best deal I've got. So you'll have a marketplace operating on the open economy, and then banks quickly saying how can I participate in this. This will require 2-3 elements of change. One, a model of AI that the banks adopt that is very core to their business, that works on its strengths, but not on what could be a deemed weakness of theirs in addressing something. So for example, potential frauds. If that is not part of the core business, how does that AI define that we don't need to be part of that? So you can say, I will choose a partner that can quickly outsource this. And that decision is again based on AI technology that can say, identifying the right partner. Can you do that? Most certainly, because those are rules defined again within the SLM to say who are my chosen and whitelisted partners for a particular product. So the online product design, I think, is going to be one of the most powerful products with AI, where the customer benefits and the banks can respond. And I think it's something that will allow the banks to now focus on their core strengths of operating of products that they've run for a long time. They understand very clearly and are able to operate under the regulatory compliance requirements. Because one of the key aspects that's going to happen is about rate transparency, fairness, and making sure that the model is devoid of bias. When you deal with a product that you don't understand as come from the, let's say, either an app or a open environment like an open economy environment, it is difficult to then go back to the regulator and say, this was the decisions I made on these basis. But if you were to say that I participated on it on XYZ products, and that's almost like how composable core worked, you can make sure that you have a composable business process automation to make sure that you are participating there. And that's, I think, one of the key areas which will be redefining banking as such. And the GCC, I think, has a big opportunity to participate in that, given, like I said, it's a foray into AI, pretty much form the government. And then I think as it translates back to individuals who address that, the power of digital public infrastructure is something that is, not harnessed so far. And I think the UAE has got that really upfront from an AI perspective to take it up.
Right, thank you. Now,
just to supplement what Rajesh is saying, one more concept, Rajesh, maybe you can add more. Multimodal models are another thing which is going to make the AI to respond to a text with an image back. Because so far what we've seen is text to text, but this multimodal will more or less help you to become these autonomous agents are going to use these multimodal models. So you can work like a human, right? I get a text, but I can respond with an image. So that's another exciting area which you see a lot of use cases coming up.
Right.
So just to add there, I think as we stepped into metaverse banking and a lot of people said, talking about metaverse banking, does it require the avatars to be used, etc. And I keep saying this, that it's not necessary to wear an Oculus headset or something like that and just immerse into a virtual world. The fact about virtual world is about the fact of the unknown that's already there. You are talking to an avatar because you're not worried about the identity behind. There's absolute trust about saying that that avatar is there, whether it's a game or whether it's an environment. You feel safe to play that game, right? That's the same way banking is going to be. You step in to say, I need to win this game, and you will come across obstacles and opportunities. It's the bonus points that you've got, which is your trusted bank. It's the obstacles that are there, which are the entities that are who are bad actors, etc. And I think the concept of how Web3 as an economy works, as Rajesh was saying, I think Web3 will work where you have the creator economy. Now, when you look at creator economy, there will be specialists in each product, and the ecosystem will, the AI infrastructure can make sure that the specialists work together to create an online product.
So now one question to all the three of you. I can start with Nitin again. So I have one A, one B, two parts of the question. One is, what has been the most successful AI implementation that you have come across, and what kind of impact it left behind? And second thing is, assuming that you have enough funds with you to launch a AI campaign within the organization, what would we be focusing on?
Insightful question. I'll refer back to the slide that you had talked about the use cases. For us, the one real true use case has been the compliance-related, sanctions and monitoring. And I've done it in this is the second organization. I've done it AI-based. It brought a lot of efficiency. It helps in multiple ways. Customer experience improves because you reduce the false positives. You reduce the risk of incorrect approvals, lending, and all that. Regulatory and compliance-related stuff as well. So it's a real use case. A lot of banks, I'm sure most of the banks are now into that journey. and we are now moving on, as I said, to the risk and the credit side. But to me, that's a big use case that has been very successful. What would we like to do in future? We are starting to look at more in the wealth and advisory side. I had mentioned that as well. But more basically investment strategies with the right fit for each customer. I feel robo-advisory is still a bit cookie cutter, but you can actually start building the advisory with the investment portfolio for the right size. Doing a sentimental analysis, using the external piece and all that, that I think is one big future case what we want to look at. Second, I would say definitely the security aspect. Cyber security has to be a big part of it, because as we start opening the platforms for everybody and start sharing data, we need to be confident that we are not compromised as well. So those are the two big things in my view that I would make sure I invest in and get the confidence.
Rajesh.
On the fraud side, we see quite a bit of good results in AI. Also in the internal automation, we see a lot of efficiencies improved on the AI. These are the two areas, standout areas, I would say, with the current development of technologies, we see huge benefits. But more will come as we evolve this technology. Okay, if I get whatever money I get, obviously I will retire and go home and do AI in farming. But I don't have that option now. What I would do, I take an assumption that it's an organization which have to gear up for this new AI technology. I will spend my money to myself prepare for this, adopting this AI technology. So I will spend a huge amount of money to get my intelligent, scalable infrastructure in place. I will modernize my back office systems. And I play a huge change management. I will spend a huge money on that. Upskill and people is key, right? Like what Nitin is saying, you can bring in whatever technology you want. If people can't adopt, nothing works. And I want also a concept which I'm very, very passionate is, I'm not a big fan of a centralized AI in any organization. In my view, currently it might work because the use cases are like that, but you have to come with a concept of embed AI in your organization, which is a huge task, which means you have to train all your departments, thought process has to be changed. It's not only technology, even business. Everyone needs to have the same language of AI. It's very easy to say all these things, but so you need more than the money what we need to achieve that. But these are the baby steps I would take so that I am ready to face any challenges AI brought into my organization.
Yes, Rajesh.
So I'll answer that question in two bits. I think being into the business of providing anti-money laundering solutions and digital solutions, etc. I think the largest success I have seen in terms of quantum is in the digital onboarding. So the aspect of using technology to sort of process images and move that has really helped in terms of opening an account in a matter of minutes and moving that further. And of course, on anti-money laundering, that's our largest business in the UAE and of course the region. So that of course has lent, AI has lent a lot of, I would say, tool base in terms of being able to identify money laundering activity, detect that, and go about the whole business about helping banks deal with the whole CTF and AML compliance areas. But I think what excites us most is the fact about how AI will get organized and how we are working together at Kiya.ai in providing AI enablement for banks. We are working around creating 3 models for AI. So it's not a single model to be used as a tool across the board. It's about creating an SLM which is based on saying what is the bank's product, what is the pricing, and the ability to deal with that. The reason for that SLM is because it then would have explainable AI referring to the aspect of how you deal with the regulatory compliance with the regulator saying how did you offer that product. That's one bit. And this would be an aspect that is a training done by the business users on this part to make sure that the product is strong. The other part is the customer facing part, which could then be a RAG model using common data that is available, or it could be a model of using LLM, which is so-called innovative in terms of engaging with the customer. And that's best used. I think banks need to know that engagement with customers, there are models that are being built in for flowery languages outside. And what ChatGPT and others have done as language models is lent a aspect of democratizing expression. You know, what I can today talk about on a subject on AI can be done pretty much quickly on ChatGPT, saying, tell us 4 points of what Rajesh spoke about. It will probably do a better job than me on that. So that is something really possible on customer engagement. But the third aspect is to really look at an AI model, which is clearly on the explainable AI for regulatory compliance on various aspects of saying how decisions were made and how to look at the auditability of every action taken by the bank, whether by an AI agent, whether by a channel, or whether by a rules set. So it's necessary to sort of segregate the three, and I think that's the most exciting part that we look forward to in future.
Thank you. I think with AI, I'm sure there will be a lot of questions from the audience as well. So I will now leave the floor to the audience. Yes. Yeah, please.
Thank you. This question is to Nitin. We've traditionally always had banks have policies, right? SOPs and IT policies. And with AI coming in and so much change happening in the ways of doing banking, do banks look for having an AI policy? Is that something that you see happening? And if so, what should really be there that a bank should consider having as part of its AI policy?
Good question again. I think, see, given that we are driven by the central bank towards AI, there has to be an AI policy, two levels. One is AI for adoption across different functions and what policies are related to those functions. And then second is embed AI related aspects in the policy itself. When you look at policy, it's about the scope, it's about what, right? But then the how and when and rest of it comes below it in the guidelines and the procedures that has to have that AI embedded if you are using and adopting AI. So if you're doing STP, then you need to see, as per the procedure, is there a explainable AI or validation or reports? That also should be part of those. But it's a very good question. I don't think banks are thinking right now on the policy and the procedure side of AI, but there has to be a referenceability, right? Absolutely. Good question.
Yeah. So a lot was talked about digital onboarding. So on the individual digital onboarding side, I think a lot of maturity has been reached, and most of the providers are offering pretty nice platforms. And I would say it is more or less democratized now. That's a key word. Where do you think digital onboarding will move forward? You know, what is the next big thing?
I'll just take that from a technology perspective. That's something, in fact, I dealt a few days ago at a product launch that we were doing. Not from our product, but I'm saying as a market product, it was a partnership that we're looking at. So I think from a digital onboarding perspective, the retail part is really taken up quite well and problem sorted there because it's just about the relationship being established. Where it goes to the next step is on corporate banking. I think a lot of what digitalization has dealt with is more in retail, and that has only brought about more competition. And I think from a bank's perspective, the opportunity is really in corporate, which is where their core strengths lie. So from that perspective, one of the use cases I have seen is that if you were to look at the whole aspect of tax data, the filings that banks have, that companies do, it is all in fact available as a DPI, right? XBRL reporting is done. So the AI can be used to analyze that output to then create a token of endorsement to say what is the real score. So I'll give you an example. If there were, in India, for example, we have GST-IN, which is a network where I can, by consent, get the details of GST transactions made by a corporate. We devised a very simple mechanism to say with a partner firm who's a CA, to say that scan all the transactions, find out who are the buyers for that company, who are the suppliers to that company. But for a bank, when you look at transactions just devoid of intelligence, you find that, somebody could look really big, because you could have a company A and company B who has vested interests, and they do trading between each other, and you have an inflated balance sheet. So what you can do in the back end is to find out who are the UBOs and eliminate the transactions between the UBOs, and then you get the true net worth. And that in itself gives a approach on a tax basis. Then you can do a cash flow analysis in terms of saying how much is the tax credit that has been exchanged between these firms. So when you look at the analysis at that level, you then get what is the true net worth of a corporate. And the ability to digitally onboard is not just bringing in ID proofs. That's not the purpose of digital onboarding. I would think that the true digital onboarding is how soon can I make a transaction happen. And for a corporate, I think if you were to then tokenize this true net worth certificate and say, as a bank, I am happy to underwrite this because I have done my analysis, right? I did it first, and let me engage this. Put this on the open marketplace to say, who now wants to lend this? I am happy to underwrite X percentage because I have that power of, knowledge that I can use. And these are, I think, very clever things that will come up in digital onboarding for corporates that will enable trade faster.
I have a counter view to that. I think if somebody is in a hurry to do a transaction, I would be worried, right? But the question is, why digital onboarding? What is the problem that we are solving, right? It is obviously about customer ease, right? It is, the seamless, timely, do it quickly, but also around the compliance and controls. I think you mentioned about that. Now that you have onboarding, which is connected to all the KYCs and the agencies and all that. To me, it is more about facilitating a seamless transaction rather than speed. And I would be worried somebody is calling me and saying, open an account so I can do a transaction, right? Or that there is a potential to fraud or other things. But to me, it is a oversold concept of digital onboarding. We can do a onboarding in 2 days as well, unless there is a underlying issue.
So this is a banker's mind, talking about technology mind.
Yeah, technology. Huh? Yeah. I mean, we have done it, by the way. It's not that we have not done it in fact, Rajesh and I work in a previous organization. We did all of that. Question is, I would be worried if somebody is saying, do it now, or here is this thing.
No, I think the example I was trying to give, I agree fully to what you're saying. The example I was trying to give is the fact that I go to a bank, being a well-established company. That is why I have a very rich GST track record, my tax credit, all is there. And now I want to conduct business. And how do I do onboarding for conducting that business? Today you have a best of world approach.
No, I understand. But a well-established company will also have banking relationships as well, right?
Exactly.
So, anyway, fine. We can debate about that later.
Good afternoon, everyone. And it was a great panel to talk about AI. Loved the conversation. I'm the CTO for the National Bank of Fujairah. We've actually implemented some policies and procedures for AI, as well as we're well in our journey with the compliance and fraud side of things. In fact, some of our use cases are going live towards the end of the year. The challenge that I have faced, it was not more about convincing the business or showing the benefit, was to get talent. And the talent specifically to build the models, because it's not an average programmer that you would basically get off the street and you would say, okay, start coding an NLM model. But it's a very niche skill set, right? Like you need to understand the business, you need to understand how the model will function and how the model will mature over a period of time. And that was a real challenge as we embarked on this specific journey. How did you all resolve it? Or, how did, any ideas or anything whether you all faced a similar challenge, and what was your approach? It would be very interesting to understand that.
So I'll take that question. So not an easy problem to solve this. It's all depending upon your organization's scale. If you are a smaller organization, very difficult to inbuild all these skills. You need to look at a partner who can provide that skill to you. But I'm a firm believer that partner can bring to some extent the engineering models, but the domain knowledge lies with your own team, right? So there is no other easy way out. Maybe the engineering talent you can get from outside, but your bank, how your bank thinks, how your customer thinks, only your organizational talent has to play a role there. So it's a combination of that. That's one proven model, not only for any technologies people want to embrace, that's one model which is quite successful. The second model, which is now medium to large banks are more keen, is to build that talent internal. Because they have the scale, they have the might, and they have now even have the capability to attract talent. Because many medium and big size banks are calling themselves technology organizations. So it's again depending upon what is the vision of the bank and how much you want to put your might behind it. And if you are a medium and bank where you can attract talent, I would suggest that do it internally. It will help you a lot over a period of time, but you have to sustain it, right? Or the other one is do it, and you can even do a hybrid model. So these are three typical models I have seen works on, and it's purely depending. So there is no solution for it. You have to take the hard path and achieve it.
I would agree with that. I think you need a blend. So small banks, you need to hire the talent and then train internal team, but you do need a blend. 20-80 at least for small banks, large banks, 50-50, whatever, 80-20. But that's what it is.
I think that was a very interesting question from Ram and this gentleman. I mean, talent is an issue, but there are different ways of solving it. So I think with that, we kind of come to an end to this panel, and any questions, we can take it offline as well. And I think it's a wrap for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.